My name is Dan Ketchum, and I work for Williamson County, and I am a EMS commander.
Dan, how did you get into EMS?
That's quite a long story. So, start at the beginning. I got into EMS in 1995 in Alaska,
What part of Alaska?
Wasilla, Alaska.
Wasilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had been on many wrecks as a civilian and didn't know what to do out in the wilderness or on the highway at night. And so me and a couple buddies decided to take an EMT class at the local community college. And I did pretty good in the class. And at the end of the class, the instructor asked if I would like to come volunteer at the ambulance service, which was a paid volunteer where if you went on a call, you got paid. If you didn't, you did not get paid.
Could you stay at home or did you have to stay at the station?
I lived too far away, so I went there and did a 6-hour block. So I usually do a 12-hour block. So overnight, you stay there overnight. And if you got a call, you got paid. I think at the time it was $40 for that block. And so I did that for several years in Alaska as an EMT, and actually went on to EMT Intermediate, they call it in Alaska, or EMT High at the time, which was some advanced skills, combi tube placement back then, some IV administration, stuff like that.
How did you end up in a paramedic class?
My wife and I both finished college in Alaska, and we decided to just easier for work. We moved to Texas. She got a job at Dell when Dell was big and going down there in Texas. And when I got down here, it was very hot that summer. And I decided not to do construction, which I did for a full-time job in Alaska. And so I decided, hey, let's go to paramedic school. I really enjoyed that. Wow. So I went to Temple College. They just started up their paramedic program. And at the time, Jeff Jarvis, before he was a doctor, was my paramedic instructor.
Yeah.
And I did pretty good in that as well. So
Dr. Jarvis and I have become friends over the years, and he was the first guest on the EMTS Academy podcast.
Oh.
And for that, I'm so grateful. Anytime somebody's your inaugural guest, you just are like so thankful that somebody believed in you enough. So you went from paramedic to command. You said you're a commander now?
Yes, sir.
What were some of the learning points or the friction points that you had as you promoted?
I was a field EMT paramedic for about 7 years before I finally promoted to lieutenant.
You said you were a field EMT
paramedic, just a regular field medic. And then I promoted to lieutenant about after 7 years.
Okay.
And then from lieutenant on, I was a lieutenant for about another 6 or 7 years before I promoted to command.
What were some of the things that you didn't know going from paramedic to lieutenant?
A lot about communication, just supervisor type communication between two people and how to interact with discipline, that kind of thing.
How did you overcome that?
Experience, learning on the job, a lot of classes at the county and CD education, just a lot of trial and error too on my part.
Did you ever make any mistakes?
Oh, all the time. I still do this.
Can you tell us about one?
Let me think on that for a minute.
Okay. What advice would you give to somebody who's new and up and coming, and maybe they've been a paramedic for a few years and they're starting to get that itch that they want to go into a leadership role? What would you tell them?
Don't be too gung-ho about jumping to that position until you have some experience. I think there's something to say about getting in there and learning like I did, but I think I would have been much better with some prior leadership classes, perhaps. At that time, I'm sure they were out there. I really wasn't focused on them. Now you see a lot of leadership academies, leadership classes you can take. I think someone that was in that position that wants to promote the beast, behoove them to take some of these classes for leadership.
Yeah. You've been in EMS how many years?
Almost 30, 29 years.
29, 30 years. Where do you think EMS is headed, and what do we do to make that better if it's not your ideal?
I'm still on that old school thought process of going to someone's house and being able to do some treatment there at their house and prevent them from having to go in the ambulance or to the hospital, tie up the hospital. My initial class project 25 years ago at paramedic school was about community paramedics. And just, I think right now where we're at, 25 years ago, it is where I envisioned it to be. People going out, going to the houses, prescribing antibiotics and medical treatment like that. So I'd like to see us progress more like that in the field, maybe have some expanded scope of practice that the medics can go out and do those type of things.
Sure.
And AI, of course, that's big.
What do you see happening with AI and EMS?
I've already seen charts are being written by AI now.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing from what you've seen?
I see it two ways too. I'm old school where I had the SOAP format for documentation, doing your narrative. As a commander, I do a lot of chart QA as well. So I'll see some charts. I'm like, hey, that could be written a little bit better, be more descriptive. I'm curious to see how the AI writes that. I talked to one of the vendors here today that talked about how they take all the information that's put in the chart and then it automatically creates a narrative for you. And then afterwards, you just have to click a box or whatever saying you agree with the AI's interpretation. So I'm curious to see how that looks and to see if it does a better job of writing a more complete chart for that.
I've heard somebody say that will actually help billing. And that's one of the things that runs any company, right? A hospital, an EMS agency, or a school, whatever it is. Not schools necessarily, but we have to be reimbursed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Where do you see the next 5 to 10 years going for a new graduate? They come out of paramedic school. Community health is probably going to expand. What else should they be adding to their skill set to be really valuable?
I think with the changing times and everything, they need to really start focusing on some of this active shooter stuff that we have going on. Again, we do a little bit of that, obviously, with the Asher training, the AIR stuff. However, I think, I'm not quite sure where I see that going.
Okay. Dan Ketchum, is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked? Anything you'd like to share your wisdom of 30 years, 29 years with a brand new paramedic? How do they become more assertive?
You need to have a good mentor. I would hope that EMT or paramedic on the truck has someone that they can be mentored by. And to get led by example from that person. I think you need to be proactive when you're out there as a medic and be like, hey, my name is medic A, what's going on today? And just be that person and go out. And you can't be really timid. I've seen some really timid people and they don't excel as well as they should. You need to take charge and be that person. I'm very happy to say recently my middle daughter went to EMT school. And has become an EMT. Hopefully she gets a job soon somewhere as an EMT, but I was very proud of her for getting that done and passing the national eligibility exam. So.
I love seeing it because when I first started at EMS, I went to, my mentors were the ones with the single and double digits, like some of the very first paramedics. And so there were no sons and daughters in EMS. And so we're starting to see sons and daughters, and we're actually starting to see grandchildren of paramedics. And that just warms my heart. You always hear police and fire. I come from a police and fire family, but EMS is finally starting to say, I come from an EMS family. And so that's really great. Dan, thank you so much for stopping by and being on the podcast. I think your wisdom is really going to help a lot of people.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Dan.